Terror is a peculiar and exhausting phenomenon that occurs in the quietest hours of the night, or perhaps in the suspended silence of a commute, when the external world settles down and the internal world begins to scream. It starts innocuously inaugurate by the future event, a replay of a past conversation, a simple nagging doubt. But the moment you notice it, the moment you decide that this thought is unwelcome, a mechanism triggers. You say to yourself, I must stop thinking about this. And in that very command, you have created a new thought. The mind, its frantic attempt to self-assolve, begins to shout commands of silence, creating a cacophony of noise that feeds up in its energy. You are caught in the turbulence of your own resistance, spinning faster the harder you try. To hold still. Now, let us explore the profound wisdom found not in adding more, but in letting go. The modern experience is defined by this loop. We exist in a culture that treats the mind as a tool for problem solving, a biological computer designed to analyze data, identify threats, and execute solutions. When the problem is external, a broken engine, a mathematical equation, a navigational error to school is exquisite. It dissects the issue, separates the components, and reassembles them into a working order. But a profound error occurs when the same machinery is turned inward. When the problem to be solved is the mind itself, or the feelings arising within it, the two becomes a trap. We attempt to think our way out of thinking, to feel our way out of feeling, and in doing so we enter a recursive loop of infinite regress. Consider the mechanics of an audio system. If you place a microphone too close to the speaker that is amplifying it, the sound from the speaker re-enters the microphone, is amplified again, and sent back out the speaker. In a split second, a quiet hum transforms it to a deafening, high-pitched screech. 'Tis as persistent feedback. It is a system that has become terrified of its own output, and in trying to capture it only amplifies it. This is precisely the architecture of anxiety and overthinking. A thought arises, let us call it a thought of uncertainty. The mind perceives this uncertainty as a threat. The monitor in your head sounds an alarm. I'm feeling anxious. You must figure out why so I can stop it. Now you have two layers, the uncertainty and the anxiety about the uncertainty. You begin to analyze. Why am I feeling this way? Is it my job? Is it my relationship? Is it a chemical imbalance? The analyst generates scenarios, each one potentially catastrophic, which in turn generates more anxiety. The monitor sees this rising anxiety and screams louder, "This is getting worse. I really need to control this now." The microphone moves closer to the speaker. The screech becomes unbearable. You are no longer merely worried, you are worried about being worried. You are anxious about the fact that you are anxious. The loop has closed, and you are trapped inside the echo chamber of your own skull. The struggle creates the ordinary world of the modern hero world of chronic mental fatigue. We walk around with furrowed brows, constantly checking the internal weather report, trying to smooth out the waves of our unconsciousness with a flat iron. We believe, with tricks in certainty, if we just think hard enough, if we just find the right mental strategy, the right mantra, or the right psychological insight, we will finally be able to grab hold of the mind and force it to a state of peace. We treat peace as a project, a destination to be reached through the strenuous effort of the intellect. But let us look closer at this entity, this I that is trying to hold the mind. Who is this manager? Who is the one saying, "We have bad thoughts"? We imagine the terrorist thinker standing apart from the tops, a captain standing on the bridge of the ship steering through the storm. But is there? If you observe closely, you will see that the I who wants to stop the thinking is also a thought. The desire for a quiet mind is itself a noisy desire. The effort to relax is a form of tension. It is as if you are sitting in a pool of water that is turbulent and you are using your hands to try and smooth the water out. But the movement of your hands is actually what is creating the turbulence. This is the great cosmic joke played upon the human nervous system. We are endowed with a cerebral cortex capable of imagining the future and remembering the past, a marvelous instrument for survival in the physical world. Yet this instrument cannot distinguish between a tiger in the grass and a tiger in the imagination. When the mind turns its scalpel on itself, it starts cutting into its own substance. The hero in this stage of the journey feels entirely helpless, because every weapon they possess is made of the same material as the enemy. You cannot use toad to defeat thought any more than you can use fire to burn fire, or water to drown water. The exhaustion you feel at deep spiritual weariness comes from a battle that is structurally impossible to win. It is the exhaustion of Sisyphus, but Sisyphus at least had a rope. You are pushing a cloud up a hole, and the harder you push, the more the cloud disperses and surrounds you. You cheat to distract yourself, but you know you are distracting yourself, so the distraction becomes a task, another layer of doing. You cheat to meditate, but you turn meditation of you a grim discipline the mind, and when a thought intrudes, you scold yourself, adding a layer of gold to the noise. The feedback loop tightens. We find ourselves in a state of paralysis. We are afraid to let go, because we believe that without this constant vigilance, without this frantic thinking, we will fall apart or miss something crucial. We equate worry with responsibility. If I am not worrying about it, I am not handling it. So we keep the machine running, we keep the microphone right next to the speaker, and during the screech because the silence feels like a void we are not ready to face. We are addicted to the noise because the noise gives a false sense of agency. As long as we are thinking, we feel like we are doing something about the problem of being alive. This is the paradox of the mental echo chamber. The hero is locked in a room where the walls are mirrors, trying to outrun the reflection. Every step they take is matched perfectly by the image they are fleeing. The problem is not the content of the thoughts, it is not the bills, the relationships, or the existential dread. The problem is the relationship to the thinking process itself. It is the belief that the mind is a wild horse that must be broken, rather than a river that must be allowed to flow. As we stand here, in the deafening hum of this feedback loop, we must begin to suspect that our entire approach to psychological well-being is inverted. We have been trying to use the disease as the cure. We have been trained to bite OMT. The struggle itself is the trap. And the harder we struggle, the tighter the net becomes. We are waiting for a solution, a key to unlock the door, not realizing that the door is not locked, and there is no one inside to turn the handle. But to see this, to really see this, we must first stop trying to see it. We must stop trying to understand for a moment, and allow the impossibility of our situation to sink in. We are trying to lift ourselves up by our shoelace. And until we realize the absurdity of this, we will never stop tugging. We are brought to the central mystery of this chaotic architecture. If the mind is a feedback loop, screaming at itself to be quiet, who is the one screaming? We must now turn our attention to the ghost in the machine, the supposed controller of this unruly instrument. This is the moment in our journey where the path narrows, where the ground beneath our feet begins to feel less solid, for we are compelled to question the very existence of the ether, feels the anxiety. The root of our suffering lies in a linguistic and perceptual illusion, a trick of grammar that we have mistaken for reality. In our language, we say, I think. His structure implies a duality. There is a subject, I, and a verb, think. It's such that there is an entity, a little man or woman inside our heads, distinct from the stream of thoughts, who is generating them, observing them, and theoretically capable of stopping them. We visualize the mind as a room, and I am the occupant. When the room gets messy with anxious thoughts, the occupant gets up and tries to tidy it. But let us apply a rigorous observation to this setup. When you look inside, do you ever actually find the occupant? Or do you simply find more thoughts? When you say, I am trying to stop my thoughts, what you are actually experiencing is a thought labeled entity, followed immediately by a second thought labeled, I must stop this. The second thought claims to be the boss of the first thought. It adopts an authoritative tone. It feels like you. But is it? Is it not just another ripple in the same stream, made of the exact same water? The thinker who is trying to control the thoughts is just a thought trying to control a thought. It is a thief dressing up as a policeman to catch himself. This is why the feedback loop is so persistent and so incredibly draining. It is a civil war fought by a single soldier running back and forth between the trenches, firing at his own position. The struggle against the mind is the mind. The effort to get rid of anxiety is the fuel the anxiety burns to stay alive. Consider the phenomenon in engineering known as hunting. A governor on a steam engine is designed to regulate speed. If the engine goes too fast, the governor slows it down. If it goes too slow, the governor speeds it up. But if the governor is too sensitive, it overcorrects. The engine goes a little fast, the governor slams on the brakes, the engine stalls, the governor slams on the gas. The system begins to oscillate wildly, revving and dying, revving and dying. The mechanism intended to create stability is now the sole cause of the instability. The human ego's sense of a separate I struggling for control is a governor that is hunting. We feel a tremor of insecurity. The eye slams on the brakes, tightening the muscles, holding the breath, frantically scanning for Xander. This tension feels uncomfortable, so the eye slams on the gas, seeking distraction, reassurance, or explanation. We oscillate between rigid control and total chaos, never finding the center, because the eye that is trying to find the center is the one shaking the table. We are caught in what the philosopher Alan Watts called the double bend. We are demanding of ourselves something that cannot be done by the self that is demanding it. We are telling our minds you must be spontaneous, or you must be natural, or the most treacherous of all, you must relax. But you cannot try to relax. The very verb try implies tension. Trying to relax is a contradiction in terms. It is like trying to smooth out water with a flatteron. The flatteron is heavy and rigid, and the more you press it down to flatten the waves, the more you disturb the surface. This is the terrifying insight that a hero must face in the depths of the trial. You cannot solve the problem of your mind with your mind, because your mind is the problem. Every move you take to escape the trap is a tightening of the trap. If you try to ignore the thoughts, you are focused on ignoring them, which is a form of attention. If you try to accept the thoughts, you are loosely accepting them as a strategy to make them go away, which is not acceptance at all, but a subtle form of resistance. You are faking death to get the bear to leave, but the bear knows you are holding your breath. This leads to a profound sense of vertigo. We begin to realize that our entire psychological structure is built on a feedback loop of validation. We think we exist because we can hear ourselves talking to ourselves. We engage in this internal monologue to reassure ourselves that we are here, that we are in charge. I tell myself what to do. But this split is the wound. This separation of the organism, EU controller and the controlled, is the source of our neurosis. In the natural world, there is no such split. A cloud's not try to move across the sky, it is blown. A river would not try to reach the ocean, it falls. Your heart does not try to beat, it beats. Your lungs do not try to breathe, they breather. These processes are integrated, spontaneous, and effortless. But in the realm of thought, we have introduced the secondary system, a monitoring system that stands outside the flow and judges it. This monitor is obsessed with the past and the future. It says, "You should not have thought that," or "what if I think that again?" It breaks the seamless flow of experience into jagged fragments of judgment. And here is the crucial realization: this monitor is a fraud. It has no power. It claims to control the weather of your mind, but it is just a weather vane spinning in the wind. The I that says I will decide to be happy now is a thought to hours after the chemical conditions for the thought have already occurred. We are always living in the echo of our own neurosis, claiming credit for things that just happened, taking blame for things we couldn't prevent. When we are stuck in the loop of overthinking, we are essentially biting our own teeth. We are eyes trying to see themselves. The eye can see the world, but it cannot see itself. If it tries to turn around and look at its own optic nerve, it will only strain and tear. The mind can think about the world, but it cannot think about itself without entering this hall of mirrors. The anxiety you feel is the strain of the eye trying to turn backward. It is the friction of the system working against its own design. We fear that if we stop the struggle, if we stop hunting, we will lose our minds. We fear that without the frantic manager running around, the office shouting orders, the business will collapse. We believe that worry is the glue holding our sanity together. But look at the evidence. Has the worry ever actually solved the problem? Has the late-night rumination ever produced a genuine solution, or does it only produce exhaustion? The clarity we seek never comes from the noise, it comes in the gaps between the noise, when the manager briefly falls asleep at the desk. The trial, then, is to face the fact that you are powerless to stop your thoughts. This sounds like a defeat, a surrender to chaos. It feels like admitting that the car has no brakes. But this powerlessness is only terrifying to the illusion of the controller. Of the organism itself, it is the beginning of liberation. The realization that it cannot stop my thinking is the first step out of the loop because it breaks the positive feedback. If you cannot stop it, you stop trying to stop it. And if you stop trying to stop it, you remove the microphone from the speaker. But we are not there yet. The habit of control is deep. It is etched in our neural pathways. Even as we understand this intellectually, we find ourselves secretly trying to use this understanding as a new weapon. We think, aha, I will stop trying to control my thoughts so that they will go away. We are still bargaining. We are still playing the game. We are trying to outsmart the mechanism. We are like a person who screams, I am not screaming, hoping that if they say it loud enough, it will become true. The struggle must run its course. We must see the futility of our own efforts not as a theory, but as a felt reality. We must hit the wall. We must exhaust the thinker until it has no energy left to fight. We must see that every attempt to fix the mind with the mind is adding turbulence to the waiter. We are chasing a ghost that is running inside our own shadow. The faster we run, the faster the shadow moves. The intricate knot of anxiety cannot be untied by pulling on the ends. Pulling only tightens it. We have to look at the con differently. We have to see that the rope is twisted in such a way that it is holding itself together. The mental feedback loop is a closed system. As long as you are inside it, engaging with it, arguing with it, you are powering it. Trials of this hero's journey are not external monsters to be slain, they are the internal hydras of our own resistance. God of one head of worry, and two more grow in its place because the sword you are. The hero stands exhausted, sword in hand, panting, realizing that the enemy is murmuring their every move because their every move.